Okay. This should be different. Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hello. Hopefully, this is more interesting to people. Literally just gonna talk about toki pona. But doesn't look like anybody's coming. Oh, no, I got some people. Got some people in here. Good evening. How goes it? Um, yeah, I'm just opening up the floor for discussion about toki pona. I actually have a Google Doc here to take notes on the discussion. I don't know why you're being censored. Hello, Tokia. Semelilon. Mi sona areni, semelilon mi. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm just, maybe if I go from top chat to live chat, maybe that helps. Maybe I can see all your messages if I do that. Yeah. Yapu, yapu, yapu. I don't know what that means. Oh no, you're sick as a dog. That's not very fun. Hmm. Tokipona discussion topics. I think it's a slur. Hmm. Okay, it's a family of some sort of living thing in Portuguese. And there's a restaurant. Yeah. But you know, first, I don't know about that. I don't know if you're the first person here. Um, there have been quite a few other people, but you know, yeah, yeah. Everyone, change your chat settings so that you can see all the messages. Because I'm not one of those YouTubers who gets like a ton of people watching their content. You know. So I'm gonna go to Reddit and find something that seems like it would be a fun activity or a fun discussion topic. Okay. I do have the hot takes thing that I did, so we can just go through this. Um, First thing, prescriptivism. Is it common? Is it rare? What does it look like? One sentence horror story. Right, okay. So here's our first discussion topic. Prescriptivism in Tokipona spaces. So do we have that much? Oh, what are your minor Tokipona gripes? I think like 2 years ago, I posted something similar to that. Um, I don't like that this is happening, but okay, whatever. I'll capitalize everything. Actually, maybe I can just turn that off. Uh, mm, yeah, okay, it's off. Um, so I think prescriptivism in the Togi Pona spaces is definitely a thing. It definitely happens. I definitely see people like taking their own way of speaking and being like talking about it like it is the one true way of speaking, like it's just the way you're supposed to use Tokipona. I see that happen. I do consider that prescriptivism, but also I don't think it happens as much as people think it does because often people are being descriptive when they when they're called out on this. Like for example, if I say people are unlikely to adopt your word proposal, this is a descriptive statement based on my experience speaking Tokipona and in the community and seeing many word proposals and seeing their reception. It's uncommon that word proposals actually get adopted in any language, um, unless there's a new concept that needs a word for it. Like, and Tokipona is an exception here because people don't need new words to talk about new concepts because they're used to using the words they already have to talk about new concepts. But for other languages, um, if there's a new product or something, whoever names it first usually gets their name in. That's why people say Kleenex for like a commercial tissue product, or why people say Band Aid for a small adhesive bandage. It's because that's the word that they were given to use for the thing. Um, but with Tokipona, uh, like with just like random like there should be a word for this. Um, that doesn't mean that there actually should be a word for it. It doesn't mean that people will actually adopt it, even if you're like right or whatever. I don't know what that means. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense or not. But that's my categorization of what isn't prescriptivism. You know. So and then maybe another example of something that looks like descriptivism but isn't, or looks like it's not descriptive. Something that looks like it's not prescriptivism but it actually is might be like, um, mm, you have to put, you have to omit Lee after me and Sina as sole subjects. Technically prescriptive. So this is technically a prescriptive sentence because the you have to, that's the most important part of the sentence when it comes to whether or not it's prescriptive or not. Um, there's a reason why I say like Tokipona speakers omit Lee after me and Sina as sole subjects. This is a descriptive statement. And by making a descriptive statement, you're not telling anyone to do anything, but you're giving them the information on what will be understood. You can also say, you won't be, uh, or you'll be understood, but it might be a little more like, uh, if you don't omit Lee after me and Sina as sole subjects, people will assume you're a beginner. That's another descriptive statement because it's true. But based on my experience, every single time I've seen somebody say me Lee or Sina Lee, unless I already know who they are and know what their proficiency is, I assume that they're still like a beginner at the language. Because by the time you get to a high level of proficiency, you're not making that mistake anymore because you've kind of internalized the way the grammar works, you know? Um, And like especially if you're doing it consistently, that really says, oh, this isn't just someone who forgot one grammar rule once or made like a vocal mistake or changed a sentence partway through in their head and messed up the the grammar a little bit, which is a normal thing to do. It makes me think this is somebody who does not understand the way people use the language, you know? Um I don't know if calling it a mistake is prescriptivist because like most speakers would consider it a mistake, you know? Um yeah, but like what I'm saying is like mistake versus an actual choice. If somebody is actually choosing to use the like this and does not omit it, it's not a mistake because they've chosen to. But most people who do it as a mistake, not because they're choosing to do it, or they're doing it because they don't understand the grammar well of the language of how it's already used, right? And it's important to be like aware of the way that the language is already used because if you don't, then like you might not be understood. I've seen people who change their grammar around too much um, while they're speaking Tokipona, and then other people just don't want to talk to them because it's like weird to talk to them. It's like you need to be like thinking too much about the language instead of just like using it and talking. You know, like using Tokipona to converse with people comes somewhat naturally to me, but using Tokipona to converse with somebody who's made a bunch of changes to the language, even if I know what all the changes are, like the more changes it is, the harder it is for me to communicate with them. So I might not. I might choose not to, you know? Okay, let's get another topic in here. Um, Pona, does Pona mean simple? So here's our next one. Does Pona mean simple? And no, it doesn't, in my opinion. I mean, like, some people in the past have definitely used Pona to mean simple, but most people in the past have not used Pona to mean simple. Yeah, so I think what it does mean is a good level of simplicity. So like if we were to have a sliding scale and we had super simple, the most simple possible, super complicated, the most complicated possible on either end, Pona would be in the middle. Wherever in the middle is the point where the amount of simplicity is a good quality. Does that make sense? So you can use Pona to mean like easy to understand or like challenging because of a complexity, but it does not actually mean um, simple. You can feel free to put any thoughts about this in the Discord, um, and I'll get back to you on it. If you have more thoughts that cannot be contained in a YouTube comment. What's our next one? I think this one's pretty non-controversial. I think pretty much everyone agrees that Pona does not mean simple. You know. Um, oh, here's a really fun one. Literal English translations are unhelpful. So a literal English translation um, might be something like I don't know. Wasatulilan mo tawa mi panariwide moku la mi pana emoku. So a literal translation might be two birds are here and make animal noises to me. They want food, so I give them food. How do I turn this off? I think if I turn that off and then I turn this off, then it lets me just type and I get to choose what is and isn't grammatical. Okay, so this is a literal English translation. And then better translation, in my opinion, would be um, there are two birds that are squawking at me. They're clearly hungry, so I feed them. I'm gonna get rid of the clearly because it's not actually in the original. Oh, there's no C. It's just that. Wait, no. How do you spell this fucking word? Hold on. Oh, WK. That's right? That's so funny. Oh my god. Is that actually how that word is spelled? That's really funny. That's really funny. Oh, that's okay. You can make fun of my typos. I'm okay with that. Um, so fed. Let's make it past tense. So so this translation here basically takes the Tokipon and translates it word for word, which doesn't sound very nice. And the reason why that's not useful is because you can never have it one to one because waso doesn't mean bird two and thu doesn't mean birds and li doesn't mean are and lon doesn't mean here and li doesn't mean and mu doesn't mean make and tawa doesn't mean animal and mi doesn't mean noise and then there are these two extra words, you know, so it's like even if you try to do that, it's not actually useful. This is useful because it's actually a good translation because you can actually visualize this easily without putting an extra effort to understand a new third kind of in between language that's like kind of calking the structure of Tokipona but means English or like is allowed in English or something. It's just not useful. I mean it has its time and place maybe, but I never do it. I never do this. I always try to provide like an actual good translation that makes sense in English. So I agree with that. What's our next hot take? Ooh, this one's really fun. Tokiponization of proper nouns is useless. And I fully agree with this one. You know what I really hate? I really hate it when people say ma Nuyo for New York City. That's a big X for me. However, ma New York, ma Nueva York, ma Nova. How do you spell it? It's like Yorkie. Do I need the accent there? No, I don't. Yeah, like there's so many ways to do it. Why not just do these? It's like if someone doesn't understand New York, you can say Nueva York, and if they don't understand that, you can say Nova Yorkie. Then maybe there are a bunch of other words. Like what's the Chinese word? Yeah. Ma ma New Year. That's me trying the tones and probably failing. But the point is we should not have high standards. So I don't think we should have high standards for the pronunciation when it comes to proper names. So if I wanted to say Ma Nuye, Nuyue, that's probably fine. Nuyue, Nuyue, Nuyue. How is this pronounced in Pinyin? Pinyin. Oh, whoops. No, that's not how that works. What does the Y do? Where's the Y? Oh, Y. Okay. New Yue. New Yue. New Yue. New Yue. New Yue is probably fine, right? My New Yue. I would want people to know that because there's so many people who use this word to refer to New York City. So I think it's a good idea if you're talking about New York City, if you don't know these, to be told about them and then refer to it using all of these. Ma New York, ma Nueva York, ma Nova Yorki. This one's less common. It's just from a language that I know how to say New York in. It's Portuguese. There aren't that many Portuguese speakers there, you know. But like Spanish and Mandarin are super spoken in those areas. You know, I and like I don't know. It feels stupid to not try to pronounce these other sounds. You know, you could like it's kind of like Tokipona's system of Tokiponizing words and making them unrecognizable. Is kind of a cop out, and it increases the size of the lexicon, which is supposed to be against the point of the language. Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to necessarily count proper names as part of the lexicon, but for individuals, when they're thinking of like place names, that's another word in the language that they have to know. It's much better if they can call upon their encyclopedic knowledge of of place names and then like code switch place names in there. It's much better if people aren't relying on Tokipona at all for talking about place names. Uh, does and then that could just be a feature of the language. It's just like you call places. This is much. This one is much better than this one. You know? Yeah, Tokipona language that has either 120 or infinite words depending on how you count is really 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 funny. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. Next, Tokipona hot take. The concept of a dedicated numeral system is honestly irrelevant. Just use the Hindu Arabic numerals to represent numbers. Uh, anyways, about saying those numbers out loud, you decide how to. Okay. Uh, just use Arabic numerals and don't worry about it. I think I agree with this one. But it's what I do most of the time. If it's a small number, I'll use the Tokipona system. Um, but most of the time, I just use Arabic numerals if it's like a big number, like in my Bible translation, which is over here. Whoa, look, it's the new feature. Um, wow, look at that. But anyway, what was the thing I was? Oh yeah, like where's that flood? It's like Genesis 5, right? Yeah, around here. So like here, this is before the flood, but like this is what I use in my translation. Cause like I could do lukatu one ale lukatu, but I could also just write it like this, and then people can decide how they want to read it out if they're reading it out loud, and then they could read it out loud like that, you know? Cause like the Arabic number system is so close to universal all around the world. Every country uh, uses it pretty much. Nampa lukatuan ale tu ale lukatu. Lukatuan ale lukatu. I would read it as lukatuan ale lukatu. I think I said that. But yeah, no, I agree with this one. I think that we should just not worry about it because most of Tokipona is written anyway, and people will just read it in their native languages. Everyone understands Arabic numerals, no matter where they are in the world. This might not be true for uncontacted groups, but let's be honest, pretty much all groups have been contacted in some way at this point. Um, and I think it would be weird to assume that they would want to learn Tokipona. I mean, like, if they did, that'd be pretty cool. But, like, they got lives, they got stuff going on. What makes you think they're interested in your silly little language hyperfixation? They probably aren't. The next one is Oko is bad, and it's like shrug emoticon. There we go. That's how I feel about that. It's like, yeah, okay. What do y'all think about Oko and Lukin? I actually know a few people who don't use Lukin and they only use Oko, which is really funny, I think. Actually, babies who are part of everyone don't understand numerals is sending me. That's really good. That's a really good one. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's meh. Okay, next one is pan is bad. Why is there pan? Why is that a word in the language? And the honest answer to that is like, I don't know. Bread. Yeah. Like if ban is there, there should be a bunch of other words, but there aren't. But it's like, what, like whatever. It's like if we want to categorize food, which we need to do in our day-to-day life, it might be useful to have some words to categorize it. Um because it's not every day that you need to describe something as sour, but it is pretty much every day that you need to describe something as a grain for like the majority of people, because the majority of people eat some sort of grain staple every day. And Tokipona's vocabulary kind of matches like the concepts that we face in our day-to-day lives, you know? But also like, does it have to? Like we could just merge ban into kiri, and then merge that into kasi, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, plant-based food is kasi and animal-based food is soeli, or like telo soeli if it's like from. Oh yeah, I can scroll up and show you what I've done so far. We talked about prescriptivism. We talked about if pona meant simple. We talked about literal English translations, tokiponization of proper nouns, using Arabic numerals, the word oko. Now we're talking about bread. And I'm kind of going on this like really big picture discussion with myself, I guess, about like Tokipona represents what we do in our day to day lives, like what we see, what we interact with in our day to day lives. It does not really focus on like the taxonomy of animals. Like it's not, unless you work with skunks, it's not every day that you'll see a skunk. So most people don't use a word for skunk every day. But um, you know, stuff happens behind you all the time, and sometimes your back hurts. A lot of people's backs hurt every day. We sit on our asses. Sometimes it's if we're sitting down. It's nice to use the word monsi. That's a word that we would use every day. Um, I think it's reasonable to say that most people would use all Tokipona words every single day. There might be a few exceptions. Maybe it's worth going through the lexicon. Tokipona. Uh, One sec. I'm gonna go to here for that. Tokipona vocabulary. The reason why I'm going here is because my resource comes up. Oh no, it's bad quality. Okay. Here we go. Um, we all have reactions to things every day. I think the inclusion of akasi might be a little weird, but depending on where you live, you might actually encounter akasi every single day. Ala, obviously, we do this every day. Arasa, I would use this word every day. Ale, I would use this word every day. Ampa, things are underneath other things all the time, and people defeat other people all the time. Like even just talking about politics daily, it's like or talking about like social situations. Like if you're having a conversation and you like own someone, you know, like I would use ampa for that in Tokipona. Like if you win an argument with a friend, or it's like something like that, or like you make someone feel bad. All that's ampa. That's like daily use. Ante, things are different from each other. Awen, sometimes things stay the same. Esun, sometimes things, sometimes people trade things. Sometimes people swap. Sometimes things swap places. You know, like every day you're going to be buying and selling stuff. No, that's not true. Maybe it depends on the person. I don't know. This is definitely like a weekly word for everybody. If we were just doing buy, sell, and trade, but if you're also using it for swap, which I do, I breathe every day. And I have an anxiety disorder, so I'm thinking about my breathing every day too, in order to help manage my anxiety disorder. So it's like I use this word for breathe, like mi esune con. I'm exchanging air with the universe. If that makes sense. That's kind of like a funny way to think about it, but like yeah, I use I use I would use this word every day. It's like, oh, I'm feeling anxious right now. Mio esune con. I should breathe. If that makes sense. Io, this word is obviously used every day because you say the word thing every day. Ike, it's an everyday thing to talk about that which is bad. If you're living your whole life saying the like only talking about the good things in it, that's newspeak. That's literally newspeak. Tokipona is not newspeak. Tokipona lets you talk about the bad in the world because it's like a full fledged language. You can talk about that. So Ike is important for that, you know? Ilo, pretty much everything I do is Ilo. I think I made this before AI became like a big problem. But yeah, that counts. Um, but yeah, I would use Elo every day if I use Tokipona every day, which I did for a couple of years. Use Tokipona every day. I don't anymore. I don't think. Um, I at least use it every other day these days. But Elo is definitely. Uh, I would use it all the time. It's like just looking around in my room. If I try to count Elo, I will run out of numbers before I finish. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, that's just a jar of pens. So that's like 20 right there. And then I got like I should be saying what I'm counting. I have a radiator. I have four different sizes of recorders. I have a ukulele. I have a lamp. I have a sun lamp for the morning. I have a fan. I have uh, two chargers plugged into the wall. And then also my fan is plugged into the wall. I have my computer. I have my phone. I have my digital audio interface. I have a cable connecting my computer to the digital analog interface, and then another one connecting that to my microphone, which is connected to a stand, which has like an aspiration prevention thing in front of it. I don't know how to call that. And then a clamp, and then I got a mechanism that functions the blinds on my window. I'm interacting with all of this stuff daily, so of course ilo is going to be a daily word. Um, Insa, things are inside of things all the time. I I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time inside of my house. I think just because humans um like have the concept of shelter, and like that's a thing that we do. We engage in shelter constantly. It makes sense that we have a word that describes the quality of being sheltered, or less the quality of being sheltered, but more just like being inside something, that comes up daily. Um Yaki, yeah, I would use this word every day. I think I would be fine if yaki didn't exist and it was just combined into ike. But we have that word now, so it's like whatever. Um, Yan. Oh, I remember. I remember choosing to include that in. There we interact with people every day. Ideally, I don't know. I would be pretty sad if I spent a whole day just by myself doing something and not interacting with anybody, not on the internet, not in person. I would be sad. Maybe some people can do that. The color words are where it's a little weird because there are many cultures worldwide that do not use as many color words as Tokipona, so their inclusion for day to day life is not necessary. You know, so this theory of words exist in Tokipona because they show up in our day to day lives kind of breaks down here because this word is not a universal. You know, um, you don't spend much time inside my house. Well, the world is my house if you think about it, or something stupid like that. So you do, Um, yo, we have things daily. Kala, I do not actually use this word daily. I do not think many people do, but some people eat a lot of fish. Like if, for example, if you lived in Sri Lanka, you're probably going to be using this word at least every other day. Talk about food, because if you live in Sri Lanka, you're probably going to be eating a lot of fish. Um, Kierten in Santa Caru. I'm pronouncing that wrong. Kalama. Yeah, we make noises. Noises happen. I think for a deaf person, this word would not. Mm, no, that's not true. Deaf people are very aware of sound. Sorry, I forgot, but like deaf people need to be aware of the sounds that they're causing in order to kind of fit into a neurotypical. No, being deaf isn't a neurodivergency, into like a hearing world. That's right. Yeah. So like if you're a deaf person in a hearing world and you're interacting with all these hearing people, if you're making weird noises, they're going to be like on your case about it. So you need to be more aware than they are about the sounds you're making, because you can't actually hear them. So it's not an automatic process for your brain to just kind of hear things. Um, so so never mind. This is actually really useful for most deaf people, unless you live in a deaf commune, which sounds really cool actually. Um, I kind of want that to exist. A deaf commune would be awesome. Also, most deaf people can hear some sounds. Most deaf people can hear like either very 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 low pitches only or very high pitches only. Deaf people can feel vibrations. So if you're at a concert, deaf people might like bring balloons to a concert to feel the vibration in the balloon so that they can enjoy the music. Some concerts like have balloons there already for deaf people. Um, oh, even a deaf commune probably worries about sounds scaring their animals. Yeah, probably. I mean, like, what if they had deaf animals only? That's kind of stupid. But a deaf commune does seem like a fun thing. If a bunch of deaf people wanted to do that, I would give them a thumbs up. I'd be like, yeah, go do that. I might even donate $5 to them. Not more than that though. Gamma, things come to be every moment. This is a universal thing that happens. There might be other ways to look at it, but things happen. This is just like to happen. Gasi, I think no matter where you live, except for like the Arctic, actually, this word is going to be important. But even if you live in the Arctic, like, isn't like there would be like seaweed, right? Like you would be interacting with seaweed because there or like some sort of gasi that lives in the water. Maybe not. I don't know. I actually don't know. Um, but nowadays, if you're living in the Arctic, you're probably going to be able to go to the store and buy oregano, right? Like they have stores there. Like in Nuke, they have stores, and you can buy oregano. Probably, can you buy oregano? Buy oregano in Nuke. Well, those look like vegetables to me. So so there you go. Yeah, you can buy vegetables in Nuke. So yeah. Ken, I think just the ability to do things, but then also the permission to do things. These kinds of things we navigate every single day. It's like, am I allowed to do this? Am I able to do this? This is something that is kind of background in our head before we try to do anything. Is like, is this possible? Um, you know? And then we verbalize it pretty often. Like, I'm constantly talking about what I can and can't do. I think it's important for me to say when I'm unable to do something, you know? Some people think they can do everything, but they're wrong. Gepeken, honestly, I'll say it. Tokipona could go without this word. Like, the act of using something, it's like such a specific way of looking at it. It's like it could be in your hand. You could be doing something and then it's also in your hand. You could be doing something, um, and then you could be making the tool do something. You know, there's so many other ways to look at it. It's like this one doesn't seem as universal to me as the other ones. Like I definitely use things every day, but I don't use Kepiken every day. You know, maybe that's not true. Maybe I do, but not as often as other words. This is like one of my least used words. It's even though I consider myself a user, because it's just like there's already a way to say by means of lon nasin, you know, lon nasin ilo. Mi moku e gili lon nasin ilo. I ate a potato using a fork. You know, gili. Most people eat fruits and vegetables every day, or at least some sort of fruit or vegetable. This might not be true, actually, unfortunately, because of fast food. But you know, I'd like to think that it's true. I ate fruits and vegetables today. I mean, I didn't eat any fruit today, but I ate vegetables. I try to eat fruit when I can, but it's fruit's expensive. But gili is useful. I definitely ate a ton of spices today. I put spices in my food. Mokokasi might cover this, but the I guess like going through this list is less about like what could other things cover and more about is this a daily experience, you know? Um, and the only reason why Kepekin so far has been one of the only ones that hasn't been a daily experience is because like it's a specific way of of looking at doing things by means of other things. It's like to use. You know. Hmm. Okay, Kiwen. I think that we interact with Kiwen and Ko every day. Also, I'm really happy with this, but I made it so that the order of all of these things is the correct order, as like you would read it with your eyes, so that screen readers can read it in the correct order. So I'm pretty proud of that. I don't know. Well, when I use Tokipona, I'm constantly calcing Tokpisin. Like, mi pakala pini esina is a calc of Tokipona of Tokpisin. Mi bakara pimpinis you, which is like, I'll destroy you beyond repair. But in Tokipona, like, it doesn't really mean that. It's like, it could mean like, I destroy you for the final time. Or like, I hit you for the final time. Or like, I hit you in a way that finishes. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense in Tokipono, but it does in Tokpisin, and it's fun to calc it. So for me, etymology does come up daily. I like me, my partner, some other people in our friend group. Etymology comes up constantly, but that's just like a thing within our personal little circle. It's not. I wouldn't say it's common. Gon is useful because it's like meaning, but it's also this word just means so many different things that are unrelated to each other. Um, like air and meaning are not the same thing. Spirit and gas are not the same thing, you know? But they're all unseen agents, you know? That's like the way that tied them together, but they're not actually it's not actually one meaning with lots of parts. It's separate individual meanings that are unrelated to each other that are getting tied together because it's through a through line, you know? So all of these things come up in our day-to-day life though. Kule, I think I mean I like I paint, so I think about colors all the time. But if I even if I didn't paint, seeing if food is ripe, seeing if vegetables have discolored. There might be other ways to do it besides looking at color, but you know, I certainly look at the color for those things. The, there is an island. Oliver Sacks wrote a book about an island of people who could not see colors, or like the majority of them could not see colors, or was it like half of them? I forget. But like, there's some sort of gene in their society where they just couldn't see colors. And Oliver Sacks was talking about how they would distinguish ripeness by other means, like by feeling. So maybe like if you can't see colors, there are lots of other ways you could use. But then also Goulet can be used for other sensory qualities, in my opinion, which is why I put it on here as saying that. So Goulet can still come up if you have senses. It's just like a sensory quality. Like, like I know you have to. I know you really have to go pee, but like in what way? Because that's a sense. Having to pee is a sense. So like Goulet could be used to describe that sense, I guess. Um, Kulupu. I I mean, this is just like this isn't something that even that humans do. This is something that all animals do. Is they categorize things. I can cite a source. Here's my source. Basic level categorization and meaning in language by Gabor Gurki. Thank you, Gurki. Uh, but uh, but yeah, I hope I pronounced that right. Maybe I didn't. We'll see. Um, I love Zotero. Oh my god, Zotero's the best. I just learned about it like last week. It's so good. I've used it so much since then. But yeah, just a consequence of the animal brain is to put things into groups. Wait a minute. Why aren't we using kulupu for like label? Why are we using poki or type? Like we can pana sinatawa kulupu ni ona aleli something, and then like that means I'm putting you in the group that does this. And it's like, why aren't we doing that? Like for type. Oh my god. Why haven't we been doing that? That's stupid. We should have been doing that. Okay, well I learned something new today about toki pona, which is that I can use this word for that, and people should be able to understand me. Okay, learn something new in toki pona every day, like just like the Binding of Isaac. Kute, unless you're deaf, this one will probably come up. And even if you're deaf, you still have ears, you know. I don't know if your ears are, if you use your ears every day if you're deaf, but you're probably paying attention to other people's ears, like where they are physically. Um, Lape, we sleep every day, and we also take breaks every day. I hope. I hope you're not waking up and just working and then going to bed. That would suck. I mean, I've done that before, but that it sucks. Also, not an everyday experience for everyone. Not we don't need that word. If that's what if that's what we're like defining what we need or whatever, you know. Yeah. Um. What's the next word? Lawa. I think control, using the head. Uh, the brain's inside the head, and often because of that, we use lawa to talk about the brain and thought in Tokipona. Um, so this comes up all the time. I use this multiple times a day when I'm speaking Tokipona. Then I don't think that there are any cultures in the world that are fully nude. I think all cultures in the world have some sort of clothing. Some have very minimal clothing, but they always have some sort of level of clothing. They wear something. They accessorize their bodies. So if you're a human, Len is going to come up because you put on clothes and take them off. Maybe you don't do that every day. Maybe some people don't put on and take off clothes every single day, but they still wear them. They still see other people's clothes. And then also, that's not the only thing we use fabric for. Oh, and then the other meaning, to hide, be hidden, or to like to be a secret, to be unknown to other people. That's also an everyday experience. You know, sometimes we don't know things and then we learn them, and then they were Len, but they're not Len anymore. You know, so this is a common everyday experience. Um, I think just like Seli and Lete together, like they're both a common everyday experience because we compare temperature from different positions throughout the day. You know, like if we're really hot outside and we go inside and it's cold because it's shaded or because the AC is on, then yeah, that's Lete, you know? But if that same temperature might be Seli, if it's the winter and it's cold outside and you go into that same exact temperature, you know? So no matter where we are, the temperature changes throughout the day, and we most people pay attention to that unless they don't leave their house and they just have like an automatic heater or something. But you know, I I guess I'm assuming people are leaving their house. Maybe they might not be. Hmm. But like even within the house, sometimes the temperature changes. Like if you're staying home all day, you're going to be cooking food. Unless you only eat cold food that is room temperature. Like if you only eat food directly out of a can without heating it up, or anything. Damn, that sounds like I guess you could avoid temperature. I guess some people, but like that's a sad life. So like we should include it. You know, Lily, we compare size all the time. Um, Things are small. You know, I just think that all languages have some sort of diminutive. You know, some sort of way to form a diminutive, or like outside of a grammatical way, like just a structural way to do that, right? Linea, I don't know. Do you floss every day? I do. That's one time linea comes up. So floss every day, and then this is a daily word that you need. Other than that, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. Like maybe if you crochet every day, this is useful. Um, I play the ukulele. Toxic gossip train. But yeah, I charge my phone every day. That's another place linea comes up. I charge my computer every day. Sometimes I use other wires, like the ones plugged in for my microphone, my headphone wire. Um, Sometimes I see lines on the computer. You know, sometimes I see lines in day to day life. It's like this is just a word that I would use every day, especially now that I have chargers. You know, why does kama need its own word? Kama refers to like the state of becoming something or something happening. You know, to occur is like can be lon, but it can also be kama. You know, like to happen. Like o que aconteceu. You know, what happened. I don't know why I brought Portuguese into this. Lipu, I use Lipu every day. Um, Even if it's not a physical book, which every day I do use a physical book, I think, in my life. But even if you don't use a physical book every day, you use digital ones. Um, you probably have flat, flexible things in your house. You know, do you receive your check in the mail like I do? I do. I receive my check in the mail. My lease, that's paper. I signed it the other day. But even barring that, you know, I go to websites. Lipu's just like a everyday thing. Though yeah, it's not an everyday thing. I Are there any cultures that don't have a word for red? Now I kind of want to go to glottolog. Is this the right one, or was it ethnologue? Languoid. Oh no, it's ethnologue. No, it's not ethnologue. What is it? What's that one website that has linguistic features? Linguistic feature data. Phobile? Oh, this one's for phonological stuff. Phobal for features. Does anybody know what the website that I'm looking for is called? Linguistic feature map database. Oh, walls. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, there's a the feature is like red color? No. Okay, red's one of them. Red and yellow. So there looks like there are three languages that don't have red or yellow. But the rest of the countries, the rest of the languages in the world do have a word for red, according to this, or like the ones that are on here, you know. So maybe Loya is like close to universal across the world, with a few exceptions in Australia, it seems, um, which is unlike the other color words. Besides, Bimea and Walo. I think, well, okay, maybe not Walo because we have Suno, but Bimea is definitely a day to day word because I think all people who can see the compare light to dark. Just it's a day to day thing. Like you turn on the lights, maybe it gets too dark. Turn on the lights or start a fire, or something. Or maybe the lights are on and you want them to go off and then you turn them off because you want it to be bimea. But loye, I don't know about that. Unless like you have a job where you end up bleeding a lot, but that's not very fun. I had a job like that once, but it was more like I was burning myself on hot glue every day. That was a fun job. Lon, things exist. Things are at locations. That one's pretty simple. Luca, there are some people who do not have hands. Um, but those people interact with people who do have hands usually. So this is a daily word I think for everybody. Oh, I was a sweatshop worker for the children. Does that help? It should help. Looking, I think if you're not, if you can't see, if you're blind, then I think that the try meaning is still useful every day. But also, some people don't use it for that. But also, like you're gonna be thinking about what other people can see if you can't see anything. And I don't know if it's most or just a lot, but a lot of blind people can see stuff, but it's just like so blurry. Lupa, I don't know. I mean, like I have a window. That's a lupa. I have a door. I have many doors actually. Um, a lot of people have sex regularly. This would come up in that context for most of them, I think. Um, I don't, but some people do. Outlets on the wall. That's a lupa. Food has lupa often. Yeah, I musical instruments have lupa in them. I maybe all of them do. Maybe not some percussion instruments, but woodwinds do. String instruments usually do have lupa in them. Lupa phobia. Yeah, I just think divots come up day to day at some point. Walking down the street, there are holes everywhere. I mean, at this point in year, they're filled with ice, so it's like pretty smooth, and then you slip and fall and die. But there's still holes around. Ma, like I hope Sina Luca and Ma, but also just like using this word for location. Um, do straws have one lupa or two lupa? I mean, Tokipona doesn't really have to distinguish between one lupa or two lupa. So in Tokipona, I would just say lupa. You know, I don't have to say whether or not there's one or two of them. Whether or not it's whether or not it's the same one doesn't really matter in Tokipona. Um, so the answer is my Tokipona answer is I refuse the question. Screw you, Mama. Hmm. For many people, this is a daily word. I interact with my parents daily on the phone. Um, I have a good relationship with them, like a pretty good relationship, I would say. I also sometimes talk to my grandparents. I have a good relationship with them as well. So for me, this is like a daily use word. Not everyone has children, but everyone is a child. So I don't know why Tokipona doesn't really have a word for child, but like whatever, who cares? This word kind of makes sense to me, but maybe people aren't really thinking that much about having the word mama. Um, I kind of reject the idea that like mama can be used for someone who makes anything. Like, I'm not mama because I make a YouTube channel and people watch videos on my YouTube channel. Like, mi mama sina ala, you know? So it's kind of weird, I think, to like use the word mama unless you are like a caretaker of people, you know? And then even then, be careful where you do it because you don't want to be like pushing yourself as a caretaker onto people who don't want it. Yeah, those were thoughts about nothing in particular. Anyway, money. Um, I mean, I definitely think about money every day, like exchanging things, goods. Not necessarily large domesticated land animals, but I paid my rent earlier this month. I I'm gonna do my laundry later today. That's gonna cost some quarters in my basement. I I take the bus. Back when I was going to work every day, I took the bus every single day to work, and I paid for that. Well, I didn't. My college did, but because they give you free public transportation. But Meli, um, I do think that most people in the world interact with Meli daily, but some people don't. And I don't know if it's like an important thing to have a word for. Maybe in most cultures in the world, having a word for this is important. But I think that Tokipona gives us the unique opportunity to communicate without thinking about societal gender. So it's a little weird, but it makes sense. It makes sense that it's included because we do interact with men and women every day. And then I think that that's also why Tansi is included, is because we interact with non binary people every day. That might not be true for everybody, but it's true for me. My roommate's non binary, half of my friends are non binary. More than half of my friends are some type of trans, some type of not cis. Me, this should be obvious why this is important. Mie, same thing as Meli. Moku, um, okay, so the one day where I don't interact with food is Yom Kippur, where I'm fasting. However, and this might shock you, but fasting for 25 and a half hours does not mean that you're not thinking or talking about food. Like if you ever hang out with me on Yom Kippur and if you join the Discord server and you stick in there long enough, I will be hanging out in there on Yom Kippur next year. Um, I talk about food because I'm hungry, because I want to eat. Like I don't, and I'm definitely thinking about it. Like I'm definitely thinking about all the things I could eat. I think the only time I'm not thinking about food is like within a few hours after I ate and I became full. And even then, sometimes I am thinking about food. Um, you interact with yourself every day. Molly, hmm. See, this isn't. I think a lot about death. I don't necessarily interact with death on a day to day basis, but I definitely think about it and it comes up. Um, Animals die. I live in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, and death is on our minds constantly these days in this area. Um, like in our local communities, in our like city community, like there have been two murders by federal agents, and thinking about that and really, talking about it, discussing it is kind of a daily experience here. And like back in 2020 with the murder of George Floyd, that was also a daily topic even back when I was living in New York City. Um, so I think it would be naive to claim that this is not an everyday experience, because even though we don't encounter death every day ourselves, very few people have the luxury to not talk about or think about death. Very few people. Very few people. And even just thinking about like dead family members, dead pets I've had. Um, and this isn't even going into like a metaphorical use of moli that talks about like, uh, I don't know, like an era dying, like a year dying, or maybe like a hobby dying or something like that, or like something like using it for beanie but more intense. This is just like talking about actual like real death is, unfortunately, I think for most of us something that we think about, something that we kind of have to think about every day. Unless we're not aware of global news, unless you're like within your close knit community of just your family, where like no one's died yet. But then at some point, someone in your community is gonna die. Oh, you think it's interesting that there's no word for alive? I think that that's because life itself is not like as a category. It doesn't really make sense. It's like it can mean so many things. None of them are similar to each other. Or some of them are, but it's like it can mean different things to different people. Different people have the cutoff in different places. It's just like it. What does life even mean? What does it mean for something to be alive? Like it's everyone knows what it means for something to be dead, but you know, oh hi Wasomu, capital M. Um, but yeah, death is a real everyday thing. And if death is not an everyday thing for you, then maybe you're lucky. I don't know. I could just be in a bad place right now. This could not be true, but I think it's true. I think if you want to define life as something that does pilin or does lon, you can use those words for it, but other people might define life differently and then want to use other words for it. So Tokipona kind of gives us the opportunity to be on the same page about what we mean when we're thinking about life. And we're not all thinking the same thing. And I don't think that moli means not alive. It means dead. It means death. So like viruses, if a virus gets destroyed, then that's moli. But otherwise, whether or not it's alive or not is irrelevant to Tokipona, because life is not a category that Tokipona has. It's not a category that Tokipona allows you to verbalize. Tokipona does not have that as a cultural category, so you have to come up with other ways to talk about it, which is useful, I think. That one was heavy. I don't know about y'all, but I love sitting on things. I love sitting on things. I'm sitting right now. Can you believe it? Can you believe that I'm sitting right now? An everyday word for me for sure, because I'm always sitting down. I'm always lying down on my back. I'm always dancing and moonwalking backwards. This is I use this word every day. Yeah. What about you? Do you use bonsi every day? I'm not lying. I'm sitting. I'm sitting down. You hate the origin of the word. It's funny. I have to give that to Sonia. It's funny. I use mu for singing, and I sing every day. I also use mu like when I'm in pain. I use mu to talk about the noise I make. When I make the noise itself, the noise is a type of ah. you know, like if I'm transcribing it, but when I'm describing it with a word, I would use the word mu to just describe it, and lots of noise happen. So like if it's like a noise caused by something, and then that thing is like using that noise to communicate with me, but it's not language, I would use mu for it. You know, moon. This one is not a daily use word. I think it's kind of stupid that it's a toki pona. Let's be honest. I don't know. When I was living in New York, the only star that you could see reliably was Polaris, the one trustworthy star, the North Star. You know, um, and even then, you usually couldn't see it because it was like behind buildings. So growing up, this is not a word that I used at all, except for to talk about the moon, the actual moon. You know, which I don't do every day. Sometimes some days it's not even there. So yeah, this one fails the test. Oh, yeah. Okay, the moon is a daily occurrence when you think about our calendar being constructed around moon phases. Never mind, you've changed my mind completely. This is a daily use word because it is used to talk about how we keep time. I think the way it's used for that might be a little bit weird, but it definitely is. Musi, I would say that I laugh, at least internally, every day. I think in a society where instead of necessarily interacting with people and having fun conversations every day, we might be like sending memes to each other. We're still interacting with Musi every day, you know. Um, Mute, yeah, I think we think about there being more or less of things a lot, so that's a word. Nampa, I think we like putting things in order. Also, I engage with computers a lot. Also, I was a math tutor, and I, day to day math, talking about numbers. This is an everyday one. NASA. Hmm. Okay, I'm definitely neurodivergent every day, and I'm definitely queer every day. I don't think I'm kink every day. I'm definitely eccentric every day. I'm only drunk and high 0% of the time because I would never recommend doing any drugs to anybody, of course. Um, totally not a part of my life or anything. Recreational drug usage. I would never condone. Uh, yeah, but yeah, I'm definitely unexpected every day. This is for me. This is a daily use word. If you're a particularly boring person, it might be like an every other day word, unless you interact with me, and then it's an everyday word because I'm really NASA. You know, this is like this word is my. This is the philosophy of who I am. You know. No drugs allowed in chat, by the way. If you're doing drugs, stop it, okay? Um, yeah, I'm sober 24/7. Yeah, yeah. Hashtag free Lipa Maka. Yeah, don't do drugs, kids. Yeah, I think NASA is kind of like a word for things that are like a little interesting, you know? Things that aren't boring, you know? Like boring would be like NASA ala, you know? Um, Nasin, I think that there are lots of ways to do things, but everything we do in a way. So this isn't a daily word. Some people drive every day, so it's also a daily word. Some people are religious every day. Some people are communist every day. I don't know if I'm communist every day, but sometimes I partake in the forbidden fruit, if you know what I mean. Nana. I'm on a computer right now, so there are many Nana before me, and I interact with all of them. Um, Nana can be used for acne. Nana can be used for islands. So if you live on an island, or if you live in New York and you're going back and forth between Brooklyn and Manhattan, like I was for most of my life, um, Nana for Manhattan works really well. Um, so that's a Nana that I interact with every day, or I did at that time. I also grew up in a neighborhood that was literally called Park Slope because it was built on a big hill. So Nana came up there as well. Um, you know, you live near hills, that could be a Nana. Um, you are feeling a tree and it has bumps on it. That's Nana. Um, if you're tripping on acid, which I've never done before, and I don't know, hypothetically, the ceiling looks like it has lots of little bumps coming off of it, and then they start moving around. That's nena. Uh, I don't know what it's like to be tripping on acid because I've never done it before because I don't do drugs. Um, oh yeah, nose is nena. I think people pay attention to scent a lot, and nena can be used for scent. You know, like me nena yo. I'm applying my nose to something. I'm smelling it. Ni. I think that I think that we think about it's a demonstrative. That's an everyday. We got to be thinking about things like this one or another one. You know, like knowing exactly what we're talking about. I think this is a daily word. Nimi. I don't know about y'all, but in my day to day, okay, I'm a linguist. I interact with other linguists very frequently. I live with a linguist. I talk about linguistics all the time, so I'm constantly talking about words. Um, that might not be a universal experience. Some people might never talk about words, they might just use them. However, um, they definitely talk about the names of people. You use names every day. Sometimes every day. So some people like meet a new person every day and then they gotta learn what their name is. And it's like, Nimi sina diseme, you know? So I think this is an everyday word. Noka. If you don't have feet, you can use noka to describe the wheels of your wheelchair or your crutches or whatever you're using. I think this is an everyday word. Um, yeah. Olin, I do not think that this is an everyday word for everybody, but I think it should be. I think that we should love the things around us and we should love each other and everyone should have somebody they love in their lives. Um, which is why I like the word, but you know, it's not necessary because it's not an everyday word, you know. Ona, I think that having a stand in that really helps with building relative clauses is really useful every day. I don't know anyone who doesn't use ona every day. They use toki pona. Well, I know one person who uses EP exclusively, which is really funny. Really funny. Open. I turn on the lights every day. I open my door every day. Um, I open doors with a key card most days. I yeah. What else is open? Oh, I open the fridge all the time. And I close it, and I open it again, and then I close it. I open various containers inside the fridge, various containers of food, various sauces and liquids and powdered containers, and then I add it to the food, and it tastes good. Bacala, I think people make mistakes, people fuck up, people break things get damaged every day. Um, if not physical objects, if you're being super careful, metaphysical objects. Like, if someone makes me feel bad, I'm like, sina bakala pinin me. I guess ampa could be used instead, but things break. If you use a computer, things probably break more often because computers are prone to breaking a lot. If you have Linux, this is an every 15 minutes word, I think. I don't have Linux, so I don't know what that's like, but I've heard it breaks a lot. Body, um not necessarily a daily use word for everybody because you can use other words to describe it. However, um oh no, cuz it's make too. So it's like I don't know, I make things every day. Do you make things every day? I make things every day. So I'm using this to describe that. I make food every day. I think most people make food every day in some way, like whether or not it's using a microwave or not. Maybe if you have like a meal plan. I don't have a meal plan. I make my own food, but if you have a meal plan, maybe you're not making food every day. But if you have a meal plan, you're probably doing your homework. So you use probably every day, you know? And even if it's not homework, you probably do go in a class and doing classwork, right? So you're probably doing Bali every day. There are probably some people who don't do Bali every day, but maybe them thinking to themselves throughout the day is a form of Bali, you know. Balisa. Hmm. I mean, like, there are some palisa I use every day. Like I use chopsticks for cooking a lot and for eating. Mm, I think a spoon could be a palisa. You know, I mean, it's probably an ilo. Lamps are palisa. I think they have a suno at the top. You know, maybe this one's not an everyday word. Maybe it's not an everyday word for everybody. Back when I was painting daily, though, I paintbrushes are definitely a could be a palisa. I think it's just like a shape that shows up a lot. You know, like trees that have branches that are palisa. Six are palisa. You know, cane can be palisa, and you use that every day. Yeah, okay, that works. Um, I do think I end up using some sort of palisa every day. Maybe like door handles, not like doorknobs, but door handles at like a facility, not a home. That's like a palisa. Um, oh, fingers are palisa. That totally works. Yeah, there are some body parts that are palisa. Let's leave it at that. Yeah, okay, that's enough, I think. Ban. This is the reason why I brought this up in the first place. I mean, like now people are just watching me go through all the words in Tokipona and talking about how they show up in day to day life or if they don't. But um, if you don't eat anything starchy every day, then there's something else that you eat like as a base every day. You know, maybe you have a salad every day, and that salad has like lettuce as a base. Maybe that ends up being a sort of pan. You know, maybe you're using like oatmeal in the morning instead of like bread or something. You know, that could be pan. I think if you're on the carnivore diet, then maybe you're not eating pan every day. You know, but like most people eat some sort of pan every day, even if it's not like literal grains. So there's some sort of staple that people are eating every day. You know, like rice, bread. That's all pan, right? Pana. Things set other things in motion all the time. Um, so this is definitely a daily word. Beating. People have opinions every day about everything they see. Sometimes they voice them. This is a very common word. Oatmeal is a grain, yeah, pretty sure. Pimea, if you can see, I think this is very useful. Even if you can't see, pimea can refer directly to the nighttime. And you're probably aware of light, you just can't like directly see it, you know? So, and of course, many blind people can see things, but and those people would use pimea for like shadow and darkness. But even if you can't see, you're probably gonna be like, oh, how bright is it in here? Is it good brightness for everyone else who's here? Stuff like that. Beanie. Things end all the time. You usually do more than one thing a day, and when you finish them, that's beanie. And sometimes when you finish things, you communicate with others to tell them that you finished them. I think that happens at least once a day, if not many times a day. Like maybe it's important for my roommate to know when I'm done using the shower. So I tell my roommate, mi pini, e kalami. I finish my showering. I've ended my showering, and then my roommate can use the bathroom. Beep beep. I'm allergic to cockroaches. I don't know if y'all knew that about me. I'm allergic to cockroaches. It's actually like really cool. I'm really cool. I'm allergic to cockroaches. But fortunately, I'm not thinking about this daily in the winter. But there are still bugs that show up sometimes where I live. So it's like definitely like a once a week at least word. During the summer, it's daily. I would say. For many places, this is a daily word. For many places, it is not. Um, Bugs are everywhere. Boca. I think just the fact that this can refer to context is is important. Uh, it can also just refer to proximity, closeness, how close you are to something, right? What's with you? What's with you? That's like a daily thing you think about. I try to interact with my friends, and I use poka to refer to friendship, because it's not a physical closeness, it's like an emotional one. Poki, I mean, I have containers everywhere. Wait, what's the word that I was using before for container? Oh, I was opening containers every day. Yeah. No. I just have lots of containers everywhere. Like in my room, suitcase, desk, uh, set of drawers, lots of cardboard boxes. I need to get rid of those. Laundry basket, binder, ukulele case, guitar case, garbage can. You could probably see Poke all around you too. They're like everywhere. You interact with them daily. Bona, um, good things exist in the world, and telling them good is a daily thing. Especially because we use language to help regulate our environment in order to better suit us as humans by communicating with other humans about like what our needs are. And this Bona is very, very, very useful in that way, in that you can like describe what your needs are, what is good for you. This word should not be in the language. Please stop using it. Why is it in there? Why is one of the core vocabulary words an advertisement for a book? I don't get it. I really don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. Um, Sama, I think we compare things a lot. So this is a daily word. Maybe there's some people who try very hard to not compare anything, but I think just like juxtaposition occurs in day to day life, right? So it's kind of hard to avoid it. Yeah, why is there a word for interacting with one specific book? What the fuck? I agree. I agree. Um, ideally it wouldn't be in the language because that's weird. Pona means easy and challenging, but only in the sense that easy things are good because they're easy and challenging things are good because they're challenging. If something is too challenging or too easy, it's not Pona anymore. So Pona doesn't refer to the ease or the challengingness, it refers to the goodness of those qualities. So I would not consider it a contronym? Celo. That's a good interaction, flaming fish. Good job giving it away. Celo. I'm thinking about skin constantly. Skin is just like an everyday thing for me. It's just like, skin. It's there, it's skin. I have skin. I'm always thinking about my skin. I take a shower every day. I'm cleaning my skin. Um, I eat beans every day. Those have skin. I gotta be thinking about the skin on the beans, right? Whenever I eat, I'm feeling them in my mouth. Sometimes I give people a hug. This is a fun word to use for that. Oh yeah, also like no, never mind. Yeah, like oh yeah, when you're cooking vegetables, usually you need to remove the outer layer. Sometimes they come wrapped, and you got to remove that outer layer too. You know, I think this is a daily word. I think we ask a lot of questions, so that's a daily word. Um, I think all the physical words are daily words because we need to think about what's above and what's below. I don't think everybody is thinking about what's divine and sacred, and not everyone's thinking about God daily. But so I do think it's a I I I mean it's just the way the language works at this point. But like the choice to combine heights and God into one word is a little weird. Uh, it strikes me as a little calky of other languages, but like whatever. Um, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. Cielo. It's. I'm always thinking about the material of things I'm working with. Like my table. It's made out of wood, so I can't put hot things on it. My counter is made out of plastic, so I can't put hot things on it. But at my parents' house, um, uh, the countertops are made of stone, so you can put hot things on them, but you can't put acid on them. any acidic chemicals because it will erode the stone. But you can let acidic things drop onto a plastic countertop and just wipe it off. Like lemon. You can't get any lemon juice on a stone countertop, but you can put a burning hot pan on it without worrying about anything. Plastic will melt, wood will burn, so that's dangerous and not advised. But the material of things comes up when I'm cooking. Um, Other than that, I don't know if material comes up that much, but no, I clean my body every day. I take a. Your messages keep saying your request has an invalid argument. I don't, I'm sorry about that. I don't know why. Um, you can use chat. I can see that. It says I. Yeah. I wonder why people's messages weren't going through. But yeah, I'm thinking about my body. Like when I clean it, when I'm moving it, thinking about the bodies of other people a lot. Um, as someone who does experience some amount of aesthetic attraction to other people, the idea of a body is useful to put a word to. Um, Sike. I don't know. I'm always thinking about the year it is. Sometimes I'm telling people what year things happened in. Also, like I walk by cars on my way to classes, so 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 like those have wheels. Um, I don't know. They're circles sometimes. I feel like I do use this word. Oh yeah, sometimes things happen in a cyclical nature, and I use Sike to describe that. Like if I'm practicing the same thing over and over again, I'll say like mi alasa pona lon ilo lon Sike, and it's like I do it again and again and again in a cycle. Seen, I think that the idea of things happening. This is just kind of the idea of things happening. Whether or not it's the first time it's ever happened, or if it's happened before and it's happening again, um, this is really just like a word that's like it wasn't happening before and now it's happening. Maybe it did happen at some point in the past. I'm I'm a little annoyed about I need stream settings. Uh, um, no restrictions. Not made for kids. No altered comment. Featured automated. Recording date and location. License. Comments on. Moderation none. Everyone can comment. Oh, those are comments, not live chat. Mm, participant modes. Anyone can send live chat. Yeah, okay. I don't know why your messages are getting deleted. Sorry, everybody. That's unfortunate. Yeah. All right. Um, I guess we can continue on. I think scene happens every day because things either happen for the first time or they happen again. Um, and I think scene is just used to clarify that it either is happening again or it never happened before, but like it's just happening. Like mm, I don't know. I need to think more about like the again and the new thing because they seem different, but I feel that they're the same. But it's hard to verbalize. Maybe I can community moderation. Oh, comments on messages in your live chat. No moderation. Hold comments with hashtags and URLs for review. I don't know why I would need to do that, honestly. Maybe that has something to do with it. Um, yeah, okay, let's go back to this. Sina, um, if you are ever talking to somebody, this word will probably come up. I talk to people every day. So if I were to talk to someone in Tokipona every day, I would use this word every day. Sinpin. I think this one's kind of underused to mean wall because we all live in places with walls, for the most part. Um, but then also just like things are in front of us and we have faces. Sitaren. I think just like interacting with symbols, interacting with writing, interacting with pictures. You know, if you're blind, interacting with braille. Um, Feeling textures. I think that could be sitaren. Like if it's like a texture landscape that you touch. Sitaren is I'm always looking at images on my computer. I think I use that every day. I think most people do. Sona. I think we talk a lot about what we know and what we don't know and knowledge. Soeli. I do not interact with this word every day because I do not have a pet at the moment. Wait, why is it moderating your messages with Tokipona for mm, maybe okay. Well, it says it's in English. Why is it? Let my subscribers speak in Tokipona. What if I put not applicable? Okay, now try speaking in Tokipona, everybody. Now I do not have an applicable language. And without an applicable language, perhaps things will work. You know? What's no way? It's still moderating it. The hell? Why? Why? Why is that the case? Ugh, that's so dumb. It won't let you insult YouTube? What? Why? Oh my god. Okay. All right, I'm going to continue on. I will look into this. Suli, I think we talk about the importance of things. I think we compare the size of things a lot. Suno, um, we interact with bright things because we experience light unless you can't see anything, in which case that is not true. And if you can't see anything, you're probably still aware of the light around you, though, because it's important to know what the brightness is, you know, just for the other people who occupy the same spaces as you. But maybe if you're just living at home, maybe you never turn the lights on. Maybe it just never comes up, you know? Oh yeah, suno means day. Okay, yeah, every day you use the word for day to describe the day that it is. That just makes sense. Supa, that's a table. I'm on a supa right now. I think you're on a supa right now. Like no way in hell you're suspended from vines in a tree, right? I think everyone's in a supa at the moment. Everyone watching this video, unless you're like walking somewhere, and then even then the ground might be a supa. You know, definitely an everyday thing. Everyone goes to bed on a supa pretty much. Um, People don't just like go to sleep in the middle of nowhere. Even if they're in the wilderness and they're sleeping out in the open, they're probably still going to like make sure they have a flat surface, right? Um, Sui, language could go without this, honestly. Yeah, Dan, cause and effect is a daily experience. Daso, I think this this kind of makes clear a relationship between two sentences. Also, the quality of a thing being the only thing that does the thing that it does is comes up a lot. You know, like it's easy if you're talking about like you could not use thos over that at all, and you could say like I do this, other people do not do this. But being able to say I only do this or I'm the only one who does this is just an easier way to say it, I guess. You know, tawa. I think the destination of motion is very common. It's just a common thing, you know. Yeah. Perspective as well. Telo, I drink water every day. People who don't drink water every day drink soda every day, I think. Or something else, maybe. Maybe they're people who only drink milk. I don't know. People drink, so this is a daily word. Tempo, I think just the time of day is something that we're all aware of. Even if we're not aware of the exact number, we're always aware of like where the sun is in the sky, time passing. Sometimes this is really important to talk about like now and then and in the future and in the past, you know, specifying when things happen. I use this constantly. Toki, I'm always communicating with people. uh, the flow of information is something that humans talk about constantly. So having a word to describe it seems important if we're using it every day. Tomo, I live in a tomo. When I'm not at my tomo, I'm going to other tomos usually, especially during the winter. Tu, um, I think the concept of just like splitting things up into smaller bits in general is really important. Also, the number two comes up a lot. Like if there's one of something versus if there's two of something, sometimes we make that distinction. Umpa, this is not necessarily an everyday word for me. Um, Probably for a lot of people, it's not an everyday word at all. So, you know, but for some people, maybe it is, whether or not they're actually doing it or, you know, they're just thinking about it or talking about it, you know. I don't talk about it every day, but sometimes I do. Uta, mm, like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Lupa could refer to it just as well, but like, I definitely do think about my mouth every day, you know, just like how it feels, what's going on in it. I also sing though, so I might be thinking about my mouth more than other people. Also, I'm a linguist, so that's another thing. Utala, I just think that things in opposition against each other is just a pretty normal thing to think about and describe. Um, Disagreement, stuff like that, very common. Walo, we could go without this one. We could just use suno instead, you know? One, um, I think just combining things, even when you're cooking, there's always some part of the process where you're combining ingredients. That's like a pretty common thing in like all sorts of recipes. So I think this is a daily experience. Even if not that, like sometimes on a computer I'm combining files. Um, Sometimes I'm just like putting two and two together and like combining pieces of information to get new information. I definitely don't use Waso every day, but I think I see birds every day during the spring and summer and autumn. Not necessarily the winter. They're south, I think, but Wawa. Yeah, I think just as an interjection, just being like cool, like that's makes me feel things, feeling things powerfully. I guess like the level of vigor behind actions. This is a very useful word. Weka. I think when things go away, or like the place that is outside of, um, this is a very common word to use. The act of going away, you know. Oh yeah, I do actually interact with wasomu every day, so maybe it is an everyday word for me. But not everyone does that. We I think because we're driven by we're often driven by desire. Um, this is a common word. Tonsi, this is not an everyday word for everybody. Even non-binary people don't talk about gender all the time. Um, like my non-binary roommate and I hardly ever talk about it. And that's not true. We talk about it like a couple of times a week, but not like frequently. I go full days without talking about non-binary-ness. Like I would probably just use yan instead most of the time. Maybe if I wanted to talk about being trans or being non-binary, maybe. Namako, I use this word every day because I cook with spices every day. I don't think everyone does that, so maybe this is not a universal. Kin, this is kind of the opposite of Tasso. Tasso says nothing else does this. Kin says other things do this. You know? So it's just a way of like giving more information to other things instead of the thing it's modifying, which is like a thing you do every day. I think fear is just like a pirin ike, or like sinapirin ni yoli kama utara sina. I I don't know. This is an everyday experience in the sense that like negative emotions are an everyday experience, and we already have those words. Yeah. I have some chores to do. I think I'm gonna end the stream and go do my chores and I also have a bagpipe ensemble practice group practice thing, so I have to go to do that as well. And I have homework. Oh yeah, thank you for the reminder. I'm vegan for February, so don't eat a good fish, but instead, you can actually use the water that artichoke hearts when you buy canned artichoke hearts, the water that they come in, you can use that. It tastes like it has a very fresh fish flavor, not like a fishy flavor, but like the flavor that you get from very fresh fish. So if you add that to seitan, um, or you use it to hydrate the seitan, or you marinate the seitan in it, then it will have a kind of a fishy, not a fishy, but like a fish like a fresh fish kind of flavor profile. So that's kind of fun. Eat a good fake fish. Bye.